All right, welcome back. I'm excited to share this revelation that has been revealed to me by God and in spending time with God. And I am looking forward to sharing with you what has been revealed to me as it relates to the mind and what God has revealed to me in my heart. And it's very profound. Um, Now, I definitely have the gift. I have many gifts. One of the gifts is to have sight. I'm able to see things spiritually. I have the gift of sight, so I see things in the spirit realm. Oftentimes, I have very strong discernment, and I'm also very sensitive to energy, and so I recognize those components and those gifts that I have, and I shield myself a lot. And so, in spending time with God, one of the things that God has revealed to me as it relates to why many people are trapped in their minds, why many people are suffering. Um, and I felt this so strongly as I was interceding. Um, and as I began sitting with God, God revealed to me that it has to do with the frontal lobe. And I was like, frontal lobe. And so I looked up, it's a part of the mind. I'm going to read what looked up what the frontal lobe is. The frontal lobe is your brain's. So it says your brain's frontal lobe is home to areas that manage thinking, that manages your thinking, your emotions, your personality, your judgment, your self-control, your muscle control and movements, your memory storage, and more. Just as its name indicates, it's the forwardmost area of your brain, and this is where so many of us are trapped in. The frontal lobe is a key area of study for both brain-related and mental health-related fields of medicine. When I began reading this, as I was led, when God revealed that word to me, I was like, wow. This is why many of us are trapped, is because we are being led. We aren't aware of the power that we have. And let me break this down. You've ever heard of the saying, there's Eckhart Tolle, we talked about that you are not your mind. And it literally does mean that. Let me explain a little bit further. For many of us, we are being led by our minds, and we're not allowing ourselves to follow what the Spirit is saying. For many of us, we are being led by our minds, in particular what I just mentioned to you in detail, the frontal lobe. We are being led by our minds and not following what the Spirit is saying. The reason why they say you are not your mind is because for many of us, we are tripped up and we have been unaware of the true power that we have, and that's our intuitive guide. For many of us, because we are not aware, we are operating out of this foundation of what we believe is the truth, which starts in our minds. And so for many people, we react instead of pause before reacting. And for many of us, we react impulsively because we haven't practiced, or we haven't become aware of who we divinely are, and we have been led by our minds. And so it's very, very important to understand the power that you have within you, the power that the Spirit of God has given all of us, that the Spirit of God dwells within us. is always actively moving within us, and listening to that voice before being led, before operating out of what your mind is telling you to do. Does that make sense? And so it even talks about in scripture, where it talks about in Romans, I can't think of the actual verse offhand. You can do your study yourself, but this is what came to mind. When it talks about being led by your spirit and you won't war after the flesh, won't war after the things in your mind. This, how it speaks to me, is when you listen to what the Spirit is saying and you follow that, and instead of allowing your mind to lead you. And this takes practice. This has not been taught to many of us. Your mind is a tool to be used. And oftentimes when we are not aware, many of our, just the way that our body functions, the way that our mind functions, oftentimes there is an involuntary activity that's happening, right? So for example, the brain, there's a part of the brain that has the involuntary things, so things that are happening on an unconscious level, like your heart. Your mind is telling your heart to beat. There's parts of your brain that's telling your mind, there's parts of your mind that's allowing your body to function and flow freely, right? This is involuntary actions that's happening within your body. Okay, I am more so talking about what I shared with you earlier about the frontal lobe. Like many of our the cycle that we want to shift in our lives, or oftentimes the web or the stronghold that happens in our lives within us, is because we haven't taken an examination of the mind, of our frontal lobe. We haven't taken an examination of what it has constantly repeated. So if you have an old way of thinking, an old belief pattern, if you're holding on to old emotions, if you're holding on to judgment or not, those types of things, that plays into part. That plays, our self-control, all of that plays into our, it plays into, oftentimes when we are not aware of the power that we have, and we allow that to lead us first before listening to the Spirit. This is how we get trapped in that web. This is how we get trapped up in the same cycle when we want things to change in our lives. And then for some of us, we pray to God for it to change, and God reveals it. But sometimes we don't think that God speaks to us in that way. Sometimes we feel that we're unworthy to even allow the shifting to happen in our lives. That's the trick of the enemy, the trick of the adversary. It's oftentimes just what you think like it's all that you've known yourself to be. And God desires more for you. And in truth, your soul is your birthright, to walk in authority, to stand in truth, to stand in power. And so it takes practice. It takes sitting with oneself. It takes listening to the Spirit of God, the Spirit of truth. God is truth. It takes sitting with oneself, and being aware of you, being aware of simply being aware of what you are taking in as your message of what is true, right? So if you have a belief that says that you're not enough, if you have a belief where you're holding on to anger and your eyes might see something in the physical, or your thought might come up with something that triggers that record in your mind. And if you're not aware of what's happening in you, if you're not aware and you become unaware, you turn it off, you become unconscious, this is how we allow that to lead us. And this is how that cycle repeats itself. Are you following me? I know it's deep dive stuff, but this is the truth. And I'm here to help awaken the power that you have within you. I've been sent as a messenger of God to show you the power that you have within you. Now, when those emotions happen in your body, and let's say you're responding to what happened, you're responding to what's going on in your mind. You might respond with anger, you might respond with tears, or you might respond with going down that rabbit hole of emotion, going down that rabbit hole of anger, or going down that rabbit hole of fear. I would encourage you, discern what I'm sharing with you, but here's what I have found to be true. Don't be afraid of it. Don't resist it. I know you're probably like, wait, what? What I want to share with you is that I don't want you to force yourself to not think it. The more you force yourself to not think it, the harder that it becomes. I want you to get into the practice of being aware of what it is. For many of us, vulnerability is something that is considered taboo. If we feel bad, that's something we want to hurry up and not feel good about. But I want you to I would encourage you, and this is what I have found to be true. I would encourage you to be aware of what's happening in your body. Don't fight it. Be aware of it without judging it. And I think that is, I'm going to say that again, be aware of it without judging it. And I think for many, because of the fact that we have been told, or because, if you do something bad, you get a spanking, or if you do something bad, you get a red stick, or what was different color things on the performance board when you were in school. And so there was a level of reframing from being bad, or for showing up that side of yourself. And so when it comes to really understanding you and understanding the mental state of understanding when you're in that mental state, sometimes we judge ourselves for I shouldn't be thinking that way. Sometimes we get deeper into that belief, and we get sunk in, and we believe that that's who we are. Sometimes we hide from ourselves because that part of us shows up. And for many of us, we just aren't aware of the truth. And so I want to bring about a level of ease with you. This is all about a level of ease. Hear me well. You may need to play this back. It is about a level of ease, And so when you have those moments, or if you have those moments, I want you to journal it. I want you to pause with it. Allow your thoughts to think them. And I want you to recognize that it has no power over you. The enemy does not have no power over you, right? And so it's like taking a step back in your spirit and recognizing what is happening, what that is. And as you allow what that is, being aware of the truth of who you are, which is your spirit, the spirit of God that lives within you, the spirit of truth. And so you're observing what's happening in your body without judging it, without stopping it. Do you get what I'm saying? Without resisting it. And you allow it to pass. You allow it to pass. That requires a level of trust. That requires a level of trust within yourself. That's where the Spirit of God lives. And that, I believe, the enemy doesn't want you to know. The enemy doesn't want you to know, doesn't want you to tap into that. If you have a bad moment, if you are feeling low, if you are triggered by something, sit with that thing. Recognize what that is. Allow it to pass. Allow it to pass. Don't force it to pass. Don't force it to pass. Allow it to pass. This brings about a level of I am not judging you for it. I'm recognizing that is what it is. Oftentimes I would get quiet with myself. I'm not around my family when I am in that state, simply because I don't think it's fair to be around people whom you love, even though they love you and they accept you for who you are. Yes. However, there is a part of me where I want to show my best self. And there, of course, there's parts of me that I don't show a perfect side. But when I am in those moments, I choose to be with myself and God as I iron out that stuff, as I release those things. Because I just choose not to bring that it's just not fair to the people that I love, in my opinion. It's just not fair. Now, there is a level of vulnerability, of course, that you bring in your relationship. There is a level of vulnerability. There is a level of where you, if you're in an environment where you need to feel safe to be vulnerable, right? And it's not like, I remember Brene Brown was talking about vulnerability, and I loved it. Being vulnerable with other people when you're having those moments, or you can share, I'm just not having a good day. Like, I feel insecure in this area, understanding that vulnerability. However, this is just my opinion. Exposing all of your scars, all of your emotions, it's not fair. It's not fair to the people that you love, even though they love you and they want to be there for you. And there are people in your life who can see that part of you and still accept that part of you. There is still also that deep, deep, intimate part of you that I believe is healthy for you, between you and God. And that speaks, what that looks like speaks differently for everyone. And you can discern that for yourself. But all in all, in short, as I close, I really want you to understand the mind, and going back, if you want to look back at the video again about the frontal lobe and understanding the mind, I really want you to understand what that really means. Okay? What that really means, and the steps in understanding if you are triggered by that, what to do. And I explained that in the video. So you can go back and listen to it. But that's all I have to share. At the end, this is the end of the video. If you have any questions, if you would like one-on-one coaching and understanding fear, as you can see, I've done extensive work, and I'm very intuitive. And this is what I do. I coach people in helping them recognize their subconscious fears or subconscious blocks and belief patterns, to recognize the power that they have to walk in truth, grace, and love, and to unlock and allow what it is they already desire is already within you. And it's really about the things that's inside of you, the blocks inside of you that isn't allowing the flow. Everything is spiritual. Money is spiritual. Relationships are spiritual. Your wealth, finances. I said that already. Wealth, relationships, your health. All of it is spiritual. All of it is spiritual. And so being able to recognize who you are in spirit, the truth of you, and being able to acknowledge and know the power that you have, and know oftentimes what many are not aware of as it relates to your mind, and what many of us are becoming reactive to and not listening to the Spirit of God or the Spirit of truth that is speaking, telling us the truth. And it is operating from that place. It's operating from that lead. So it doesn't mean that you're not going to ever get triggered or ever. I explained that earlier. and knowing how to navigate through that. And this brings about a level of more ease, more flow, and more grace. So go easy on yourself. You definitely have got this. I'm here to help. I'll leave the description at the bottom if you would like to work with me. But other than that, that's all I have, you guys. Thanks for tuning in. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.